itself, and uh, deep state within the hobby. Well, that's interesting. Can I get to that for a minute?
Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
okay, so before we get on to the Spiegel brothers here, um, a deep state in the hobby. So you have a over the decades, you've had a lot of quote unquote influencers, uh, people who are high up in the hobby chain. Jefferson Burdick and Lionel Carter, and then Bill Mastro in the '70s and '80s. A lot of these guys, they come and go out of the hobby, and nobody is permanent. Um, you know, you just see you don't see like some just one person controlling the hobby because the hobby is it's um it's too large to micromanage or for anybody and there's so many different aspects to the hobby. You get people who collect vintage, who collect modern, who collect bobbleheads, and so I don't really see a grouping of people that can control everything. And it's kind of funny that Jefferson Burdick back in the 1930s, he had mentioned that somebody somewhere had gotten rid of tobacco cards, and I think he said something to the effect of it was a secret society that he thought it really wasn't. It was legislation that destroyed the tobacco trade, basically tobacco cards. But I don't see that there's a deep state within the hobby, and I could be wrong because I don't really travel in modern sports card circles. I'm a vintage guy, so I could be completely wrong. And um, again, like it could be different too because you have a lot of influencers on something like YouTube or whatever. So yeah, just one man's opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I did a video. I think I said something about hobby deep state. I forget what the video was, but maybe I should look for it. Hobby deep.
or
I don't know.
the cardboard mafia, I mean,
Yeah.
although the
Oh
funny
yeah.
thing,
My
yeah,
video was "Will the deep state go after Kurt's card care?" That was my title.
well, see that's interesting too, because I think that is fraud.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so too.
that's got some that's long term implications that we don't know a whole lot about until back in the '90s when they had cards that were basically UV coating or that whatever
Yeah.
that coating was that they used. 30 years later, those cards are now bricks, and they're a lot of them are kind of like that coating has destroyed a lot of the cards. They didn't know that back in the 1990s what would happen, and it really wasn't talked about either. Like, oh, it's a nice shiny card, and like 30 years later, that card is turned to mush. So
Yeah. Okay. All right. I wanted to get into once again the Spiegel brothers, and I think this is an insane case. And where do you want to begin when it comes to the Spiegel brothers after you just reviewed it?
I really found this to be very interesting for a bunch of reasons, actually. Um, the motion there's a motion to dismiss the case and it was denied, which I thought was really interesting. And usually in a case you have to have standing in order for the case to be heard. And if you don't have standing, your case doesn't get heard. That's not what happened here. So it looks like the judge in the case found that there was enough evidence here for what these people were saying to bring it forward. And so um, the just from what I was reading, and there's a lot here, it, it's it, I guess they bought it in November 17th, 2003. Is that when they bought it, or is that when the card was issued?
I think it was issued in 2003 as a LeBron James card.
Okay. Okay. So again, January 2014 is when the Spiegel actually bought the
Yeah,
card.
yeah.
they said that the patch was taken out of the card. Um, and I guess a few people had said online that it was a different, it was a different card, or it was altered. But then, from my understanding here, is that the patch was graded by Beckett as an authenticated card, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Um, and so there's a few people who said that their card, it was not. I guess it was altered in some way after that fact. But then there was, it was, I think, maybe determined that the photos that were taken were altered at some point. Is from what I read in that. So that to me is interesting. And the Spiegel brothers, they said that in the document that there was fraud in the inducement. Um, and so that was really interesting because that's when a person tricks another person into signing an agreement or a document uh, that is to one's disadvantage here, and it's used, I guess, fraudulent statements or representations or misrepresentations uh, of the item in this case. Um, so Golden, I guess he got a letter from Upper Deck stating that the card was authenticated as good from Upper Deck. There was a gentleman by the name of Chris Carlin who wrote the letter of authenticity, and then he backtracked in 2021. So he wrote that letter in I think October of 2019. That's a long time to backtrack, and so um, Ken Golden. I don't know if he can. I don't know what's going to happen to him, if anything, because he could apparently just say, like, I was told XYZ by these other people. One of them, I guess, who had wanted the card for himself or tried to,
Shine
become,
150.
yeah, tried to become employed by Ken Golden, and
Or
then
wait.
is that him?
Here's what I saw. This is the crazy part. So there's multiple layers to this.
There's somebody named Card Porn, and
Yeah, card
that's
porn,
a
the
horrible.
scammer.
That's a horrible name for anyone who's card porn. Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
not a good name.
yeah, I know the guy that tried to scam people at the national last year.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah, this was that case. I did like 20 videos on card porn calling
okay.
him out before the scam went down. But anyways, there was card porn who basically was convinced by Shine 150 and a few other individuals as well, according to the legal document. And then they tried to they then convinced Ken Golden to take it down from the auction house. They said, "Hey, look, this doesn't look good," so it got taken down. But then card porn is known to Photoshop items.
Yeah, and that's what it
So,
does look like.
yep, he photoshopped items, that he tried scamming last year at the National, and now they're saying, "Hey, look, if he photoshopped that, did he Photoshop with this instance?" And I do believe that he may have photoshopped something to manipulate Ken Golden, and Ken Golden then took down the auction house. Now,
See,
what? Go ahead.
no, see that. So Ken Golden could have an out there, except that Chris Carlin basically said on behalf of Upper Deck that this was a genuine thing. Now, one of the questions that I have about this too is that uh, if Upper Deck replaced the card, the item, exactly is, I think it was what, 44 out of 100 out of 99.
44 out of 99.
Yeah. So is there two of these? Are there two of these
I mean,
items?
I think what happened was Upper Deck changed that, and then I think they got. I don't want to speak, but they replaced the patch, and then the Spiegel brothers
Okay.
had the patch that Upper Deck just made the change on the second time around.
So
So
if Upper Deck actually said that this is the so we found a damaged item that was returned to us and we fixed it.
yeah, they fixed it, from my understanding.
Okay. That letter that should have if Ken Golden had any questions about that, he should have gone to Upper Deck.
I think he did, and it was just he was getting pressure from card porn, and then there are people that convince card porn to go after Ken, and few of them were Matthew Allen, Shine 150, and then I think there was another guy. There were a few other individuals as well. And then the conflict of interest here is that Matthew Allen has a bunch of these cards, Shine
That's
150. And
that's
then
what I
was
read.
there some sort of manipulation going on? And what's the crazier part, this is blacked out. You know, if you talk about the mainstream media blackout, this is the hobby deep state, in air quotes, going back to Tim. This
Cardboard
is
mom.
the cardboard mafia deep state of the hobby is covering this up. According to this legal document, I'm going to read this. And first of all, they had the Spiegels were trying to get Matthew Allen to speak. And then he wasn't giving them the information they wanted. So then they found out a third party, a doctor that knew Matthew Allen. And then eventually the doctor responded to the subpoena. And one of the things they asked is, hey, what's like a flow chart of golden auctions and regarding Shine? And ultimately, the doctor, like I said, this is 81 on the page 15 of the document. Anyways, the California doctor ultimately produced a corporate flowchart with a few text messages that shows Allen. This is from the legal documents, right? And the California doctor allegedly shows that Allen, who is Shine 150, as the head of Golden's private sales department. And under Matthew Allen, I believe it says is Frank Denote. And then he heads another private sales rep and then another private sales rep. And I don't know the time frame of this, but this is the corporate flowchart. But the person underneath Frank Denote, according to this flowchart, says Michael Kramer. And I think that guy on Instagram is Card Collector 291. And that Card Collector 291, according to the legal documents, had a role in convincing card porn and then also Ken Golden to take this down. So this is pretty wild here. I could go back to this is what happened in the legal documents. Golden agreed to auction the LeBron James RP on June 4, 2021. The auction began on June 10th, where Golden withdrew the auction on June 11th, publicly thanking two Instagram accounts, Card Porn, who no longer is on Instagram and who is engaged in fraud, and Card Collector 291, aka Michael Kramer, who allegedly, according to these legal documents, was working in some sort of capacity as a private sales rep at Golden Auctions. So this is an insane case
That could be a conflict of interest.
yeah, that this appears to be a conflict of interest. That
Yeah.
okay, you got Shine 150 apparently on the payroll in some capacity, and then Card Collector 291. Now, in a court situation, I don't know what's going to happen, and also, are these corporate flowcharts, are they accurate? That's the thing. You know, this is once again, listen to flowchart doesn't mean that it's real, but this is what it says. And
Well,
this is
I mean, yeah, any lawyer, the Spiegel's lawyer would be able to fish that out to see if these are actually real flow charts. I mean, a good lawyer can do that. And so I I'd be more interested in what if this actually goes to a jury. Juries can go either way on this
right.
stuff, and so nothing is obviously nothing is guaranteed. Even if you think that it's a closed and shut case, you know you never know. Again, it depends on a lot of factors here.
Like,
Um,
what do you think about hearing about this? I mean, I told you, Matthew Allen rolling in high end cards, and apparently, according to this flowchart, is a private sales consultant, very high up the chain.
well, I wouldn't do any business with Golden. I would,
Golden's the biggest ticket in
I
town,
wouldn't,
though.
yeah, but I mean, she's in the Mastro indictment. You know, like why is he on the show bearer list in Mastro's court case? That's the first thing. I mean, he's never explained that. I find that kind of interesting. Um, just seeing this, I'd probably not do like any business with Mastro or even Hunt Auction or whatever the auction house that sent those that $2 million worth of cards to a was a Best Western
Memory lane.
Emery Lane.